While exploring the grounds just outside the Archendove Cathedral, we see a platform made from plywood stacked up atop the rocks overlooking the water. Climbing aboard, we can look out to see what this is for. We notice on our Pip-Boy compass that there is one undiscovered location, apparently close to the coastal grotto, which we had such a hard time discovering in a previous video. Looking down, we do see what appears to be some sort of mine car. If there's a mine car, there must be a mine. Instead of leaping from this platform to our death, we can take a nearby path that zigzags all the way down the cliffside. On our way down, we can clear any mirelurks that get in our way with our trusty dusty Gauss rifle. This location is just a bit south down the coast from the coastal grotto, and here we also find buoys floating on the water. Like all of the buoys in the game, they mark hidden stashes of loot on the seafloor. In this instance, we find a couple of metal boxes, one very easy locked safe with over 200 bottle caps inside, a first aid kit, a stim pack, and a variety of other minor containers. When done, we can swim west back towards the shore. Here we find an overturned wrecked vessel on the rocks. There is no hatch to enter it, but if we swim under the surface, we see a huge hole in the hull of the ship, and spilling out is a skeleton and a large selection of chems, Buffout, Jet, and Mentats. When done, we can surface and climb atop the rock that this ship crashed into. Facing northwest, we see the platform at the top of the cliff that we were standing on earlier and the small trail coming down the side. So to find this undiscovered location, we need to follow the shoreline west. As we do, we get to clear even more mirelurks. And walking along the shore, we stumble upon the corpse of a smuggler. Now, I don't remember killing any smuggler. How did this guy get here? On his body, we find a holotape called Smuggler's Confession. Popping it quickly into our Pip-Boy.
Okay, I'll do it. Just point that thing somewhere else. My name is John Adlam, the son of Joseph Adlam, brother of Richard Adlam. 2 days ago, I was caught stealing from the group's claim. Today, with the consent of my father, I am to be shot and killed on the cliffs of the old cathedral by the hands of my brother Richard. With my execution, my punishment is exacted, and the Adlam name will be avenged. Let my punishment be a reminder to those who may be tempted to do as I did.
So that was the purpose of that little plank. It was used as a place to execute this man and then push his body over the cliff. This man was killed by his own brother for stealing from his father's smuggling operation. Continuing along, we eventually see a small dock where some hostile mutated swamp folk were hanging out. On the dock, we find a toolbox and a small little ship with 2 fishing poles and a teddy bear inside. I guess they were fishing out here? The cliffside to the north gets smaller and smaller until we find that the earth forms a small ramp leading back east. Taking this ramp, we can follow it along as the cliffside gets large again and the rocks loom above us until we find an area strewn with all sorts of industrial rubble. Iron girders, wheels, cinder blocks, barrels, even the doors to vehicles. This is quite a junk pile. And just southeast of this location, we see that overturned mine car. As we approach, we discover Herzog's mine. We see the entrance just northeast of this mine car. Strangely, there is a shovel embedded in a metal barrel laying out here. Not exactly sure how we can explain that, and when we're ready, we can open the door to Herzog's mine. As soon as we enter, we hear a sound that sends shivers down our spine. Oh my, what could that frightening sound be? Is this mine haunted? There are a number of skeletons lying out here, one draped over a makeshift chair, another lying on the tracks. This mine has been long abandoned. The tracks are now obscured by rubble, and many of the mine cars lie tipped to their side. The tracks continue to the northeast but end. We see a man's torso in one of the cars, and close to the dead end we find an ammunition container and a red toolbox. Inside the mine car at the very end is another skeleton, this one surrounded by empty beer bottles clutching a teddy bear. Our way forward is to go down the path to the west. As we get close, we hear... I'm getting flashbacks of that horrible hallucination we had in the sacred bog. What was that? We see a tripwire blocking our path, but no matter how I twisted my view, I just couldn't find a way to snip it. I suppose I could have jumped over it, but curiosity was getting the better of me, so instead, I walked right through. A bunch of blonde doll heads pour from a nearby cave opening. Oh, and one garden gnome. There's a bunch of other rubbish mixed in with this balls, baseballs, basketballs, pitchers, tin cans. It looks like this trap was just meant to startle. Whoever set it up clearly wasn't intending to hurt anyone. The trap is positioned too far away from the path. There's no way these doll heads could ever land on the person who tripped the wire. So why is someone trying to scare people away from this mine? To the north, we see a small crumbling platform upon which rests two skeletons. There's a toolbox and a few other containers, but no notable loot. But when we head back to the path and head west... Oh my, that sounded like a very intimidating feral ghoul imitation. Somebody's working hard to get us to turn around. After looting some dirty water and scotch on a shelf, we can hop up into one of these mine cars to loot an ammunition box. There's another one on the ground near to another mine car, out of which hangs another skeleton. There's a skeleton lying by a lamp just north of this. Where did all of these bodies come from? Were these the miners? I assume it must have been. Who else would be in this mine? And these bodies are just laying out. We don't see pools of blood or weapons anywhere. We find some bear traps up to the northwest. And then... Whoa, what? We're partially stunned by the flash from a camera, which triggers a pitching machine. All done? Wow! Stepping forward. Well, I'm glad I humored someone, but those baseballs weren't funny. They could have left a mark. At the end of this passage, we see a track, and looking down the track, oh, is that a swamp person?
Well, yeah.
What? How did a swamp person get here? And why did he just explode? Alright, something fishy is going on here. We can turn around and loot a first aid box to the east, and then continuing down the track, we find another skeleton next to a lunch pail and a clipboard, another indication that these are likely the remains of the mine workers, right next to a platform, upon which rests a shelf with a bunch of gear. We find two ammunition boxes on the bottom, filled with mines, and then some mining equipment, some goggles, a head wrap, and a few hammers. We follow the tracks west until they bend northwest. We can loot another mine box next to a derailed mine car within which we find a bunch of pre-war money. We see a few skeletons draped over some boxes. And then to the west, we find a door to Miner's Rest. On the other side, the train tracks end, but the path goes on into a room that's supported with some sort of scaffolding. The path here splits off to the northwest where we see some water and off to the southwest where we see an elevated platform. As we get closer, we see a small boy wearing a top hat shooting at targets with a BB gun.
You made it past my traps? Get out of here, lady. Aren't you afraid the ghost will get you?
Cut the crap, kid. That light show isn't scaring anybody.
No, I mean it, lady. The ghost will melt your brain to mush. You need to get out of here, and fast.
A ghost? Where? We'd better get out of here.
Yeah, you better scram. If he looks you in the eyes, your brain will melt.
So the traps and noises, that was all you, right?
So what if it was? I've bagged meaner than you, and I'll do it again.
Your toys might work on the locals, kid, but not on me.
Yeah, well, bullets work on everybody. Try me, lady. I dare you.
You're starting to annoy me, kid.
Listen up, lady. My name's Kenny, and I'm the boss of this mine. And if you're gonna be mean, then you aren't welcome.
Settle down, I'm not gonna hurt you.
Well, alright. But any funny business, and I'll pop you one. My name's Kenny, and I'm the boss of this mine.
Kenny has 3 different things he can say each time we ask him to tell us about himself.
This one time, I'm pretty sure I moved a bottle with my mind. Did you know I once bagged a miler 10 feet tall? I bet you can't beat me in a race. You look real slow.
Where are your parents?
I don't know. I ran away a long time ago. I live here all by myself.
Why did you run away from home, Kenny?
I wasn't born right. Mama hid me in the basement, and Pappy kinda just forgot about me. But I knew I had to go before I grew up.
What do you mean you weren't born right?
Look at me! I don't get the marks. I go around the wets and folk will shoot at me, thinking I was one of your type.
I see. So he is a child of some of the swamp folk who live here, but he wasn't born with any of the mutations that the rest were. Instead, he was born normal. That made him an outcast, and so he had to flee for his life. Where are your parents, Kenny?
I already told you I ran away. Shut up about it, all right?
Where'd you learn to make traps like the ones I found back there in the cave?
I got bored locked up in the basement all the time. So I started taking things apart and putting them back together again. Things aren't so strange when you can see all the stuff that makes them. You know, see something's insides? That's what the real thing is.
So Kenny, what do you want to be when you grow up?
I'm grown up enough already, and I'm the only thing I can be. Me.
You know what? That's an admirable philosophy. I like that, Kenny. Hey, what's it like living in Point Lookout?
The grown-ups like my mom and pop just live in the wet. They're okay. They just don't trust outsiders like you. Most think I'm an outsider too, because I don't got the markings on me. I tend to stay away from the grown-ups. Except when they have a campfire. Some nights I hear them dancing. Then I sneak out to watch.
Yeah, I tried that. It didn't work out too well. Hey, let's talk about something else.
Sure, I was getting tired of that anyway.
Tell me about this mine.
Old Man Herzog's mine hole isn't much, but it's home.
Who was Old Man Herzog?
He was a mean old man. Owned this mine 1,000,000 years ago. Made the miners work real hard and didn't give them any money or food for their kid. One day, a bunch of miners sat down and just stopped working. Old Man Herzog, he didn't like that. Not a bit. So he blew them all up with 1,000,000 tons of dynamite. No one wanted to work in the mine after that. Then old Herzog came down here and hung himself. They say his angry ghost still haunts the mine. That doesn't scare me, though.
So the mine owner Herzog didn't pay his miners enough, and they went on strike. He responded by blowing up the mine and then committing suicide. Well, that would explain all of the bodies. They didn't die from radiation after all. Many must have died in a cave-in as the result of all of the dynamite that Herzog detonated. And then the only way I can explain why the others didn't just leave is that the explosion must have also sealed off the entrances, if this story is true. Kenny could just be making it all up, we don't know. The door we found to the mine could have been uncovered by smugglers or swamp people long after the bombs dropped. Anyway, why are you hiding down here, Kenny?
Swamp folk know old Herzog's mine hole. Say it's haunted. So I knew most folk wouldn't want it this way, except outsiders like you. Doesn't usually take more than a clapperjaw and a leg to scare them off.
How do you survive in here all alone?
I go out to play some days, and might bag me a shellman to eat. Most days, I just sit here with my stories and toys, though.
I'm impressed. If Kenny can go kill Mirelurks at his age, that's pretty industrious. You know, this seems like a good hideout. I could use a place to crash and stash my gear.
I don't know, lady. You didn't try to kill me, and you seem pretty nice for a grown-up. But still, how do I know I can trust you?
Good instincts, kid. You can't trust me.
Just get out of here, okay, lady? Don't make me hurt you.
We have 3 other ways to respond. We can pass a speech check to say, I'm not gonna hurt you, I just need a hideout from time to time.
Well, I guess you can stay here when you need to. And you can leave your stuff. I won't mess with it.
Or if we have the child at heart perk, we can say, oh come on, don't be a dork face. It'll be fun.
Okay, fine. I guess you can hang out here. You can keep your stuff here too. I won't mess with it.
But if we can't pass any of those checks, we can instead say, there must be some way to prove I'm on your side. Besides, aren't you lonely?
I I used to have Kenny Bear around, but he fell down the big shaft back there. It's too scary for me to go get him. Maybe you can, though.
Scary? What do you mean?
I don't go back there much. It's real dark, and there's lots of critters. You should be fine, though.
Oh, you won't go, but I should be fine. Sorry, kid. I'm not in the teddy bear retrieval business.
Whatever. You're a dumbhead. I didn't want your help anyway.
I've had a change of heart. Don't worry, Kenny. I'll go get Kenny Bear for you.
Gee, thanks. I dropped him near the shaft, so he's probably at the bottom.
With that, Kenny pulls out his BB gun and resumes his target practice. He lives on this elevated platform, which is smart, probably keeps all the creepy crawlies away. But if we try to explore under it, we have to be careful. If we walk in front of his BB gun fire, we can get hit and take damage. There's a dumpster under the ramp to his shack. Inside, we find 4 human skeletons. This kid sure isn't afraid of ghosts. Heading out, it can be a bit perplexing at first. The path to the right leads us to the door to Herzog's mine. This is where we came in. Heading out and turning right leads us to a dead end. This is a shallow pool of irradiated water. This must be Kenny's water source, though I'm not sure what he does to survive the rads. But so far we don't see that shaft he was talking about. That's because there's another path I almost missed. There's a small passage directly between the shallow pool and the door to Herzog's mine. This leads to a continuation of the track and a door to Black Damp Shaft. We find ourselves on the tracks, and the tracks lead to a large shaft. A skeleton lies just outside, and buckets and shovels are strewn around. The shaft itself goes deep into the earth, and it's supported by some sort of scaffolding. Now, Kenny said he accidentally dropped his bear into the shaft. I suppose we could drop on down, but instead of suffering the falling damage, let's see if we can find a way to wind our way down there by heading down the path to the west. This path leads us deeper into the earth until we arrive at a large flooded chamber where we can kill some mirelurks. After clearing the mirelurks in this room, we can continue on by climbing atop the rocks covered in glowing fungus to the east. At the top, we can look down to see that the cave path leads onward to the southeast. Upon hopping down, we find a wooden box with some scrap and a small stash of bottle caps inside, and then a cave just southeast of here. And hanging from the roof of the cave like a stalactite is the skeleton of Herzog. So Kenny's story was true, and it makes the skeletons we've discovered so far all the more horrifying. The men who didn't die in the blast suffocated or starved to death, and that's not a way to go. I feel especially sorry for this guy. Remember, we found him at the beginning clutching that teddy bear. It may have belonged to his child, a son or daughter. While his friends and coworkers were choking, gasping for breath, and dying around him, he suffered, clutching to the only happy memory he had. But knowing that his child's future was soon going to become a whole lot harder. But Herzog the greedy fool inadvertently made this mine his own coffin, and it was only after his own fate was sealed that he realized how worthless this pre-war money of his that he so cherished really was. And so he scattered his money on the ground, climbed up on this stepladder, got drunk on moonshine so he wouldn't feel the pain, and then hung himself from the ceiling. The mirelurks have made a nest around his body. We see Brahmin skeletons and other human skeletons peeking out of their muck. The path continues to the north. We see boxes against the wall to the northwest, one of which has a huge stash of railway spikes. The path then rounds to the south-southeast, whereupon it goes down and gets flooded again. Here we find a couple of swamplark queens. At the end of this path, we see Kenny Bear lying on a throne of cinder blocks. Looking up, we see the big square mine shaft that he must have fallen through. Lucky for Kenny that the bear landed on the cinder blocks instead of in the water. Otherwise, he would be moldy and gross by now. With that, we can retrace our steps and head back to Miner's Rest to present Kenny with his long-lost Kenny Bear.
Hi, did you want something?
I found your teddy bear.
Kenny Bear! You're the greatest! So hey, you can use this place as your hideout if you want. hide from the folk out there, stash your stuff, okay?
Nah, I don't want to hang out with a little kid. Thanks anyway.
Well, okay, but if you change your mind, you can always hang out here. I won't mind.
On second thought, thank you very much. I'll move in right away.
You're welcome. So, what do you want to do now? You want to play a game? Like hide and seek or tag or something?
Games? Sure. Let's play tag.
Okay, tag, you're it.
Kenny runs off, but he's not very fast. We can catch up to him almost immediately.
Caught me.
Tag, you're it.
Okay, I'll give you a head start. Go.
We run off. He's slow, but he eventually catches up.
Tag, you're it. You'll never catch me.
We gotta tag him again if we want to do something else.
Caught me.
Okay, that's enough tag for now.
Fine, I was tired of whooping you anyhow.
We can then choose another game. Let's play hide and seek.
Wait here and count to 10. Slowly. Then see if you can find me, okay? No cheating. Close your eyes. Count to 10. Go.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Let's see. Where did he go? You know, we do have an unfair advantage because he appears on our compass as a neutral presence. Here I quickly found him hiding under the ramp.
Okay, now it's your turn to hide. I'll count to 10. Go!
Oh, okay. Running off, we can... I don't know. Let's go to this shallow pool area. Hide amongst the glowing fungus. I'm sure he won't find us here. Oh, look at that.
Did you turn invisible or something? Found you. So, you want to keep playing?
Let's play another time, okay, Kenny?
Fine. I didn't want to play with you anyway.
And that's that. We've made a new friend in Kenny, and we can now call Miner's Rest our home. All of his belongings, which were previously set to owned, are now set to unowned, and we can loot anything we want. We find our cot off to the southeast. Directly south of it is a trunk we can use to stash our gear. There are some shelving units to the south that we can decorate with our personal belongings, or take out a weapon and use the cans as target practice. We see Kenny's little target stand to the north. We see that the centerpiece of his target is a big pre-war Ruzka the Wonder Bear poster. We've seen these all over Point Lookout. I'm thinking then the circus must have been in town when the bombs dropped. And if so, I wonder if any of these circus animals got loose. And then to the northwest we see what? Another pint-sized slasher mask? Now, clearly this doesn't mean that Kenny is the pint-sized slasher. I mean, it would make sense he is pint-sized, but the pint-sized slasher was active over 200 years ago, so there's no way it could be Kenny. I think we must conclude that Kenny found the pint-sized slasher mask in the same way we found one at the Homestead Motel, which means that if the pint-sized slasher was a real person, that this serial killer must have moved to Point Lookout after he became too notorious in the capital wasteland. Of course, there are plenty of other explanations. Perhaps this mask was mass-produced at the time the bombs dropped as a Halloween costume. After all, the bombs did drop just before Halloween, which is the perfect time for masks like this to be sold to the public. We could simply be stumbling upon Halloween costumes that had been laid out in preparation for the festivities. But all of this pint-sized slasher pondering is the topic for another video, another day. We can climb a ladder in the middle of this platform to emerge just southwest of the Arkandove Cathedral. The entrance is a big muddy mound, cleverly hidden amongst some bushes behind a stump and some rubble. With that, we now have a home away from home here at Point Lookout, even if it does come with a roommate. What are your thoughts on Herzog's mine, the miner's retreat, and Kenny's cave? Did you discover it in your gameplay? Did you use it as your base of operations while exploring Point Lookout? Did you turn it into a permanent player home even after you finished the Point Lookout DLC? Let me know your thoughts in the comments section below. We are getting close to finishing our series on Point Lookout. We have a handful of minor locations to explore, and then we will finish the series by discovering the dark heart of Obadiah Blackhall. I publish a new Fallout video 6 days a week on a wide range of topics spanning all of the games, but I'll be working on Point Lookout for the next few days until we finish this series. If you want to make sure you don't miss my next episode, be sure to subscribe and to click that bell notification button. You can follow me on Twitter and Facebook to keep up to date with all Oxhorn news, and if you like what I do and you want to support me in a more personal way, consider becoming one of my patrons on Patreon. I take Sundays off, which means I'm not going to have a video for you Monday, but never fear, we will be back in the swing of things with a brand new episode Tuesday morning. But more than anything, I'm just so glad you're here watching this video with me today. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you tomorrow morning, bright and early, with a brand new episode.